Hello there, everyone. How are you doing today? Welcome to Coffee Time Career Chat. And my name is Patricia Hayes, and I'm so excited to be here yet again. If this is your first time joining us, again, welcome. This is all about having a conversations about those issues that come up in the course of your um, career, your professional growth, your relationship building when it comes to your professional growth. And when I talk about career, I'm not just talking about folks in their 9 to 5. I'm also talking about those entrepreneurs, those small business folks, because there's, especially today, there's so much weaving in and out, so that it creates an overall career strategy that's important to how you grow and to your long-term growth when it comes to you, to yourself and yourself as a professional. So that's what we talk about. On Mondays, it's generally about career development issues, things specific to you as a professional. And on Wednesdays, we talk about networking and relationship building as a general rule. So check them out. And you can always go back and check them out on the platform that you're watching on or on YouTube. Okay. That said, my role is I serve as an executive advisor, career empowerment coach, professional networking strategist, and a strategist overall. I do a lot of strategic planning for organizations. And the goal is to make sure that you are developing as a person and as a professional in a way that's sustainable for the long term, and in a way that's authentic as well, so that you don't end up getting stuck down the road because you've been following a path that's not true to you. So that's how we approach things here. And I'm excited to be back in the saddle here after a rough start this September. Man, it's been a busy, busy September. So that said, we're continuing talking about shifting, as I've had conversations with both my entrepreneurial friends and my professional friends and clients. There's been a lot of shifting in the marketplace, and it's been rather disruptive from the perspective of people really don't know what to expect and or how to move forward next. So I decided we would just kind of go with that flow and have that conversation, um, and started off with some conversation about making sure that you recognize the shift, um, in the season professionally, right? Don't try to ignore it. We'll talk a little bit more about that today, but it's important to recognize when a shift is happening. And then you want to be sure to respect your reflection time during that time. So we had a whole chat about that last week. What does that mean? If you've listened before, you know I'm huge on reflection time, on journaling, on setting aside that time that you need to, to let your brain like really comprehend what's going on and give some thought to it, right? Not just reacting to something, but allowing you the time to be responsive in an informed way. So that's really important. And today we're talking about leaning into the shift. So it's a little bit more in depth on that part of not ignoring what's going on. Because, when you're in denial, it's really easy to ignore everything that's going around you. But unfortunately, that can be to your detriment. And, when we talk about that, the first word that came up when I started thinking about this topic is resistance, because that's really what happens most of the time when we feel something like things are changing. We're not quite sure how or why, but we definitely know things are moving around, right? Things are happening within us, around us, and we're just kind of like sitting there. It's like, well, what do I, not just what do I do next, kind of like the why. And even before the why, what generally happens is there's some resistance to even wanting to acknowledge that there is a shift. And why might that be? There were three things that came to me, and I think I may have probably have experienced all of them at some point in time in my professional career. The first one is there's generally a fear of the unknown. So when you are really like you're in the midst of things are going on and you feel like there's something in the air and there's some shifting going on, but you are really feeling resistance to it, um, like literally in your body, because a lot of times that's how it'll show up. You just feel that resistance. If someone mentions something that kind of acknowledges it, you're like, oh no, that's not really going on, or that's not happening for me. A lot of times it's the fear of the unknown because that would mean things are about to change, and everybody doesn't do change well, right? And when you don't feel like you are ready for change or you're not doing change well, then it's kind of like just shut down, go into denial mode, and basically pretend like nothing's going on around you. Now, here's the thing that can hurt you whether it's bad stuff going on around you or whether there's good stuff going on around you. When there's bad stuff going on around you, like layoffs, politics at the office, rumblings from below or from your peers, whatever, when you stick your head in the sand on those types of issues, they very quickly come back to bite you in the butt. And you can get caught up in some things that you really truly did not anticipate because you allowed that resistance and that fear of the unknown to guide you rather than to kind of like, okay, let's really dig in and figure out what's going on here and acknowledge it. So that's on the, not good side. On the potentially good side, but still ends up in a negative fashion, is when, let's say, the shift is good stuff, right? Like maybe there are people who are talking about, hey, maybe you should take on this role. I hear this thing is going on. And you're like, no, I don't think so. Then you could be slapping opportunity in the face, right? And we don't necessarily want to do that. I know I remember experiencing that when I was at the agency and when there was some major shifting going on with one of the departments. And I was a part of the team that was doing the strategizing about what to do next, how to handle it, what should go. But then seemingly out of the blue to me, someone just started throwing my name around as being the person who would lead up the overhaul. And I was like, whoa, 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 what are you talking about? I'm like, I don't think so. Right. And they were like, oh, yeah, no, like this is probably what's going to happen. What do you mean? And because I was like, not so sure about that. And there were a couple of things fear of the unknown and not feeling like I was ready. We'll get to that in a second. So that can absolutely happen, even when it's a quote good thing or a great opportunity. What you don't want is the resistance because you're scared of what could happen next. You don't want that to drive your action, right? That's very emotional response, completely legitimate. So I'm not um, underrating or undermining that in any way, but what I am saying is you don't want that reaction, that feeling to drive the bus. Okay. You want to be able to make sure you take a step back, engage in some reflection, and do a little dive into like, wait, where's this coming from? Why am I responding this way? The second thing that comes up, when there's a lot of resistance, when there's some shifting going on in your career, it's just flat out PTSD. It's like, oh no, been here, done this. I am not going down that road again. And totally legitimate again, completely uh, I won't say acceptable, it's not the word I'm looking for, but just understandable. That's what I'm looking for. Completely understandable. And again, the thing that arises is wanting to make sure that you don't let that feeling of something that happened in the past drive your responses moving forward, because it can be very damaging to your, not just your immediate situation, but your longer term career, because you can take detours without even realizing it, simply because you don't want to acknowledge what's going on around you. Okay. And then the last thing is the flat out, I'm not ready. So I'm just going to pretend like none of this is going on because I'm not ready. And guess what? Sometimes that's related to a confidence or, a confidence issue. It's related to a fear issue. We talked a little bit about fear of the unknown. There could be fear of success as well, right? But when you feel like you're not ready, then it's easy to just say, I'm not ready for that. So I'm just going to pretend like it's not happening. Again, not necessarily the healthiest way to address it or the best way to address it. And so when you're feeling that resistance and you need to kind of do a little dive on, like, stop. What is going on? Why am I feeling that resistance? Why am I feeling this way? And then engage in that reflection time. Get a chat going with a trusted advisor, your coach, an accountability partner. Talk it through, because sometimes we just let stuff roll around in our head and you're not getting it out there with someone else. And that's not good, right? Because internally your ego is going to be like, oh, yeah, you're crazy. That's not really good. You should not be doing that. And it's going to reinforce the resistance, the fear factor, all of that stuff. That's not how we want to handle it. You do, however, want to engage in some reflection time to ask yourself some questions, and not in a judgmental way, but in a really, like, kind of curiosity way of what is going on here? Like, where is all this coming from? And then, like I said, make sure you engage in a conversation with a solid confidant, your coach, accountability partner, so that you can get some external input from a solid source to help you in assessing what's going on and why you are feeling that level of resistance that you're feeling. Because here's the thing, you can try to be in denial all you want to, but if there's a shift in the atmosphere around you professionally, it's happening regardless of whether you want to acknowledge it or not. So the question is, are you going to sit back and let things happen to you? Or are you going to take a more empowered stance and engage in some active decision making to impact what is going on around you, and so that you can have some more say? I like that. Are you taking an empowered stance? Okay. Because that is so important. Um, not just in times of shifting, just in general, right? What's the stance that you're taking? Is it one of denial and defeat, or is it one of empowerment? Okay. So there we go. Now, here's the thing. When you're leaning into the shift, or saying, hey, here's a reason to lean into the shift, there are several different things. Number one is you can gain some really good insights when you allow yourself to open up, to acknowledge what's going on around you, even if you don't understand it, even if you feel like I'm not ready to deal with this yet, but just open yourself up to kind of observe it as a third party and watch what's going on, receive the input. Those insights that you get can be extremely valuable, whether it's something negative or whether it's something fantastic, in the works. Learn from those insights. Okay. Learn from what you see, learn from what you pick up on. Will you need to take an action on it? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe it's a timing thing. So you may not need to take immediate action, but you do need to be very observant of what's going on, so that when it is time to take action, you're doing so, again, from an informed stance, from an empowered stance, rather than a reactive one. Okay. So look for those fresh insights that can be gained when there's a shift going on around you. The second thing you can do is when you lean into the shift, it is so crazy the amount of opportunities that can surface, right? When you lean into it and you're leaving yourself open to receiving what's going on around you, you will also be able to see and experience opportunities that you might not have seen or experienced before, right? Again, do you have to take up every opportunity that's presented to you? No, not necessarily. However, you can learn from even the opportunity being presented to you. You can learn things. It can help you open your eyes to fresh opportunities that are related or tangential to it. I've had that happen recently where, there was a excuse me, an opportunity that came up, tried to get to it, just couldn't. It was just too many things going on. So I was feeling a little, bummed about that. But in the course of things, guess what? Here's another one related to it that pops up. And I'm like, oh, wait, I have time to address this one, to get involved in this one and to do the work. So just because you're there and you see it and you're watching the things that are going on around you, it can give you not just the fresh insights but access to new opportunities. Okay. And it's insane about how many things can and will come your way when you open yourself up to that. I am speaking from experience in the past and currently, where just because I said, well, you know what, let me go ahead and see what this one's about. And literally, it seems like the floodgates are open up, and there are all of these things that come. Do you have to take every one of them? No. Now, me, I like to like, oh, I got to do. But it's the point of you don't know which one will come to fruition or not. So make the informed, educated, decision that you can in that time and in that moment, and move forward and take action. Or if you decide, you know what, there really is not sufficient time, or this is not quite right, but I'm going to keep my eyes open because this is close to where I want to go, where I want to be, what may be opening up for me, for next. The third thing that can happen when you lean into the shift is literally opening yourself up for next level growth, because that's what really is going on. Is next level growth awaits you, and you need to be willing to have the 360 view of what's going on around you, so that you can make informed decisions about what it is you're going to do next, about what's being presented to you, what may be in the in the wings over there, because you're here, and acknowledging that, yeah, I'm uncomfortable, because that's really a lot what happens, right? When you're feeling that resistance and that fear, is you're uncomfortable because you don't know what's going to happen, or you're not sure of what's really going on. But, or should I say, and it's still an exciting time, because it very well could be a part of a major growth shift for you. And when that happens, guess what? It's going to be uncomfortable, because it may mean leaving behind some people, leaving behind some old experiences in order for you to go to the next level of who you want to be and where you want to be professionally. All right. So just think about that when you're leaning into the shift. Yes, there's going to be resistance, because, you may have fear of the unknown. You don't feel like you're ready. You've got PTSD after some old experiences, all legitimate. Honor your feelings and do the reflection work in order to acknowledge it, and not let those fears and those feelings drive your decision making in that moment. Instead, you should look for the reasons to actually lean into the shifting, by considering the fresh insights that you're gaining along the way. What are you learning from this potential shift? What are you observing while it's going on? What are the fresh opportunities that are being presented? What are you getting access to that you didn't have access to before? And then finally, that next level growth that's awaiting you and how that's going to help propel you to where you want to be personally and professionally. And there we are. That's what I have for today. I'd love to hear from you and get your thoughts on this conversation and where you are in your professional growth. Are you in a shifting moment? What does it feel like? What is it giving you? I'd love to get your input. We have one more session on the shifting that we're going to talk about next week, I believe, and that is going to take us to um, really digging into that shifting as a growth opportunity. All right. So look forward to hearing from you. If you need some assistance in your professional career, in your organization with some growth or strategic planning, please reach out. Would love to have a conversation with you about what that might look like. And let's get together and have a chat. All right. Take care, everyone. Have a great day.